Shanice and Esku, thank you for joining me. Startup Nation United, we're about 3.5 weeks into the war now since the terrible October 7th. Been extremely inspired by the incredible initiatives and projects that have emerged from the ecosystem, some technological, some social, some internal organizational. And so I'm really looking forward to hearing your journey and the impact you've had over the last 3.5 weeks. So thank you again for being here. I'd like to start, even before we dive into the war itself. Tell me a little bit about who you are and what do you do in the day to day outside of the context of what's happening now.
Yeah, it's usually an easy question that we're used to answering so quickly. We have our pitch, but the past few weeks, 3 weeks, have been, making me take the time to remember what it is that I do. But I am a climate tech investor. I invest directly into early stage climate tech companies and funds, and also I'm the co-founder and chair of Planet Tech, which is a nonprofit that aims to divert the Israeli climate tech scene into solving one of the world's largest crises. And actually now when I speak to you, I'm always asked why I believe so much in the Israeli climate tech ecosystem. And I always say it's because we're so good at emergency and so good at crisis. So why don't we just solve, such a huge crisis? And I'm used to talking about that. And I never in my life, I would imagine that this will be fulfilled in the shape of the entire country, and the entire tech ecosystem is joining forces in so many inspiring initiatives, like you said, that I'm also in awe of, that we've seen in the past 3 weeks.
100%. Completely agree. Where were you on October 7th, 6:30 a.m. when the events transpired?
Honestly, I was asleep. I thought it was a thunderstorm. I told you I'm obsessed with climate. Like, it all related to me, to like stuff like that. I woke up in my Tel Aviv apartment on a usual Saturday to so many messages asking me if I'm okay. And I'm like, okay, whatever, something happened. One of the usual things that we unfortunately got used to. And I was like, I made a coffee and I sat down, and I really remember this moment when I'm like starting to realize what is happening. Very intuitively, I just packed a bag and started to find ways to maybe go up north to my family, and just immediately went into this kind of like survival mode because we didn't really know what was going on. I knew about the party. I knew sorts of details, but I wasn't really sure what is happening. But it did feel already then like a pivotal moment, and I don't know if I didn't know how much, I guess, like most people.
Right. No, it was definitely it was an accruing understanding that all of us had over the significance of that moment and day. So obviously, as an entrepreneur, you yourself spring into action. I wasn't surprised to hear that. Tell me how things transpired. So what was the process in which you then adjusted to taking action, what you've done, who you did it with, all that?
Yeah. So honestly, for the first few days, I think like many people, I was involved with trying to get vests to soldiers. It's like,
Yeah.
I got into that, trying to help people get whatever they need. I realized then that there are a lot of entities that are doing that, and I wasn't sure it's my role, to be honest. I helped a little bit, but I mean, I was such in like action mode that I did so many things at once and helped fundraising to a bunch of other initiatives as well, which I still happily support. And then I think it was maybe 1 week into this whole chaos, we'll call it like that, haven't found the word yet, that my good friend Michelle Latzer called me and told me about the Israeli Children Fund Initiative. She's a CEO of Tweed, a startup, there was already a group of a few amazing people, founders and CEOs, like Tomer from Logis.io, Ido from Zen City, Tom from Verbit, Yuda, like so many amazing people already there. So I joined the team. I guess there were 10 people already. And ever since, we actually grew to 50 people. So unfortunately, I don't have the time to mention everyone, but it's really important for me to mention that each person is like, wow, an incredible human being, both on a personal level and a professional level. Obviously, these are people who founded and are currently managing Israel's largest, most successful tech companies. And we also have investors like myself, like Eyal from Pitango, and many other industry and executives and leaders that you can read all about them on our website. And it's I have to tell you, it's a really special motion and notion to be a part of this group, because it really does work like a startup, but in a very, very fast growth rate. You know, you can imagine, like, there's no company that will grow so quickly, right? The investors will not allow it probably. But everyone is like a ninja. Like, everyone is capable of doing so many things. So it's been moving pretty quickly. And it really touched me when Michelle told me about it, because I realized slowly, like everyone, the multitude of the horrors that happened on October 7th. Yes, we still need to provide everything to the soldiers, to the communities in the south and the north of Israel. But I think all of us slowly started realizing there's a societal, economical, psychological, everything, right? It's a multifaceted issue. Issue is a small word. I don't know how to call it, but it's a huge thing, and there's so many things we need to attend to. And something about the stories that I started hearing about children who were left without their parents, either their parents, one or both their parents, were taken hostage to Gaza, which is something that is still unbelievable for me to get out of my mouth even, or children who literally saw their parents slaughtered, tortured, sometimes went to really deep, still are in a really deep trauma, and now lost one or both of their parents. You know, we hear it in the news. There is one story about a mother that was murdered in front of her children. One is 4 months old. The other is 7 years old. The father survived. The children were kidnapped with their neighbor to Gaza. Last minute, there was a miracle. I can't explain it. And they came back. So, of course, they have their father, but now, you know, the income of the household is down. The mother worked in a tech company. The father is in agriculture, and Hamas burned the entire orchards. So they need to pay the bills. They need a temporary apartment. They need all this basic stuff. Now, Israel and other entities have, you know, people are taking care of it. But the bureaucracy takes a lot of time until the children and the families that are taking care of them will be able to provide all of that. And we need it now. So I was really touched by all the stories, obviously. How can you not? And this is why I joined, just really simple. And we want to help the children and their families, not just in the short term and not just to make them, you know, survive life. We want to make sure that in the short term, they get everything they need, their families get everything they need in order to take care of them. But also we want to make sure that these children fulfill their full potential. You know what I'm saying? It's not just, okay, let's just make sure you're fine. No, they will need so much, and we want to give them that. So we're not able to
for so long, right? It's for years. It's not what you're talking about is not just an immediate need of, okay, can we have them safe now, but how can we support them in the years to come, because this is now going to be with them for the rest of their life. So,
exactly. Right? And we want them to have great life. We want them to have exceptional life despite of the strategy. And this is why we have the longer term part of the program, which is endowment funds for the children, to make sure they get the extra. So yes, the country and the government may be providing them, for example, higher education, but we want them to be able to go to private schools, and we want them to be able to go abroad, and we want them to have a bar mitzvah, grant, and we want to wrap them with everything. And also, we want to make sure we utilize our networks like we love doing in the tech world, and have the tech scene and industry have another, wrap them with another layer. Again, we're not trying to replace authorities. We're not trying to replace their families, God forbid. No, we just want to give them all the extra care that they need and just make sure they're not falling between the cracks of bureaucracy, basically.
Yeah. Well, and it's more than that, because I think that, there's a role that governments can play in the way that you provide sort of basic necessities and human rights, of course, and sustainability for people to live and to have, hopefully free expression, both in terms of their, in terms of the fundamental aspects of what it means to be human: food, water, shelter. Mm-hmm. But in this case, it's much more than that. We're talking about an occurrence and an event that is going to leave them with needs that perhaps very few governments can actually attain to. So I think that it's remarkable how you and the rest of the 50 amazing people you've mentioned, many of them are very good friends, how you've taken action into your own hands to make this impact. Tell me a little bit about what you've done over the last 3 weeks in formulating this Israel's Children's Fund. What has been the impact so far, and just a bit about what's been happening here.
Yeah, so we're obviously fundraising right now for the short term, and for the long term, it's one fund that's raising $100 million. Yes. We already supported for the short term 8 families, and we're in touch with about 40, which are in total 75 children. And unfortunately, there are more. And we're trying to get to everyone with the most, sensitivity, which we're also learning. I want to be honest with you. We're all tech people. Each is coming from a different sector. This is new for us. And like we're, seeing a problem and try to solve it, then this is what we do. So we have started very gently and understanding what they need. So we already were luckily able to support them. We already have some funds that will allow us to support all the tens of families that we're in touch of. There's not even a specific number that I can tell you right now of how many children we're talking about, because we're still in this chaotic state. As you can imagine, as a country, there are no formal numbers, but we're doing the work, and we want to get to every family that is now taking care of an orphan child, and just make sure they get the most pressing help that they need now, and the best life that they can have. And we believe that we can support them in moving from now on.
It's remarkable. And so, Shishin, and what I think is one of the most remarkable things that we've talked about in this conversation is not just the what you're doing, but also what you said about how, this is around the sensitivity. You're saying, we're a bunch of tech people. We're not from this. This is not what we do in the day to day. We're learning, but at the same time, you're learning by engaging and by impacting perhaps some of the most sensitive situation that I could think of. And so I think that it's just a pretty inspiring thought to have, a group of people that in the day to day are, engineers and CEOs and investors and overall great people, very smart people, but not taking care of children who've been through tragedies like what there is now. But that doesn't mean that you're bystanders. You're springing into action. You're engaging, communicating, fundraising, and creating an environment in which you're set to make an impact, and you're doing that as entrepreneurs. And I think that that's just a really, really amazing message for everybody to hear. And I think that's exactly why I started this mini series, and because this is really what I think the unification of Startup Nation is all about, and everybody coming together. So Shani, I really want to thank you for spending this time with me, and I wishing you all the best with this super important initiative. And it's not just like you mentioned, it's not just to give them, to bring them up to have a normal life, but it's to enable them to have exceptional lives, and regardless of
we hope so.
Yes, thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.